to be here today, guys. I see some familiar faces. I remember y'all from when I was here last time. So welcome. What I'm going to talk about today is probably something y'all are all dealing with, because y'all don't have y'all's own kids melting down at all, do you? That never happens?
No, never.
Never. I know my own kids never melted down, like ever, ever. So here's the deal. I'm not a magician. Unfortunately, I can't sprinkle my dust and give y'all all the skills, because I don't even have all the skills. But if you get one or two strategies, y'all, we're good. And hopefully this will be helpful. I'm happy to, like Rachel said, any questions you have, please. I don't want you to be, please be somewhat interactive.
Yes.
Don't feel like you can't ask any questions. I want y'all to participate and ask questions, because y'all learn more from each other than you do from anybody else. I mean, you really do. First off, I'd just like to introduce kind of a little bit of who I am. This is my family. My mother, Judy, is now 82. That was her 80th birthday party. That's my brother, Michael, his daughter, Lily, who's going to graduate from high school this year. My son, John Michael, graduated from Texas Tech a few years ago. Yay, get those guns up. My daughter, Caitlin, is now finishing her first year at University of Arkansas. So she's down there. She's looking into nursing. So hopefully she'll get that going.
Awesome.
My dog, Daisy, is everything good and perfect in the world. We all have a Daisy, right? And I always forget, this is my husband, David. So it's like the very last one, I know. So anyway, I just like to give y'all a little bit about me.
Daisy's above David, you could see.
I know, but he would be okay with that. He really, really would, I promise. So y'all, when we go through today, I want y'all to think about things in a little bit different way. Because think about it, if your kids are having some issues academically, math, reading, whatever, and they can't get that concept, do you get upset with them? I mean, not really. You don't take it personally, right? But if they come up to you and totally have a fallout and are kicking and screaming and calling you every name in the book, what does it do to your heart? It shatters it in a million pieces, doesn't it? Because those are our kids, those are our babies. And first off, we don't want to see them in that situation upset, but that's our heart. I mean, my kids call me, when they would call me names or do things, it would hurt my feelings.
Also a level of embarrassment if it's out in public.
Oh, y'all, here's the deal though. I'm telling you, my kids learn really quick. Because my little boy, and something about mamas and boys, I don't care that he's a grown adult, he is still my baby. But when he was a baby, I remember being out at stores and he would throw fits for stuff. Y'all, there was one day I'm like, we're abandoning ship. And I didn't always do the right things. You have the choice to abandon ship. I didn't care that it was a full grocery cart. I'm like, we're going, buddy. Abandon ship. You have permission. It is okay to do that. And you know what that message sends to them? Next time when he wanted something, I'm like, nope. He figured it out real quick. And don't ever be embarrassed. I know when I see families now or kids out, I'm like, I don't judge that. Y'all, we've all been there. Every one of us has been there. Abandon ship. Just take it home. Go back a better day. It's okay. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about y'all. What are we here to do? We're here to do what's best for our children. I don't care what anybody thinks. Oh no, you can tell that was a personal thing for me, because I'm like, we're not doing it. So, but here's the thing. They're lacking, just like if they don't understand math, we're like, oh, okay, well, we'll do it a different way. I remember one time when my kids were younger, y'all, they're teaching things crazy now. They're teaching math. I'm like, 2 + 2 is 4. And they're like doing all these diagrams and all this stuff. Well, I thought I was being such a great parent, and I showed my son how to do 2 + 2 easy. I went to school the next day. They're like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have done that. You taught him the wrong way. I'm like, no, I taught him the easy way. Y'all are doing things crazy, not me. But he was lacking that skill, so I taught him. Behavior is just another form of communication, first off. So when they're having an absolute meltdown, what are they communicating? What do they really want? Just like we teach basic skills for math and reading and science, y'all, we need to teach basic skills for behavior, for expectations, for all of those things. And y'all, I am not good at this. I am not the perfect parent. I almost get intimidated doing this because I'm like, I'm not the perfect parent. But here's the thing. They learn from us. And if we don't teach them one way, we're going to teach them a different way. But you have to follow through. You have to be consistent. And I don't know about you guys, but that is the single hardest thing for me to do, is be consistent and stick to it, because they have a way of saying, like, if you do give them a consequence, well, really, do you have, I'm sorry, I'll be good, I didn't mean it, and they look at you with those big eyes and you're like, okay, y'all don't, I'm telling you, follow through, sister, you're gonna make it, I promise, but you have got to stick to it, because they will remember. So that, again, we're just teaching, it's a different skill, but you've got to come at it in a different way. And so if they call you names, if they have a meltdown, think about it in a different way. There's more than one way to teach them. But just like we teach them academic skills, these social emotional skills are huge, because I don't care how much they know up here, if they don't know how to be a good human, what does it matter, y'all? That's what we're here to do as parents, is instill those skills in them. So, I know y'all know your kids forwards and backwards, so you probably know when they're about to have a fit, or sometimes you may not know. And it may seem like behaviors come out of nowhere. Behavior's another form of communication. It does not come out of an abyss. Something set that behavior in motion. And I tell my teachers this, but you know what, as parents, we could do the same thing. Start keeping a record. Like, if they have a fit, what's the time of the day? Where are you? What's going on? Be aware of the things that led up to that behavior, because if you can do that, you can get a pattern. Okay, every Tuesday morning, what's your child's name?
Evelyn.
Oh, how sweet. Every Tuesday morning, Evelyn does not want to get up and brush her teeth. What is going on? Why does she not want to do that? Look at what, okay, well, on Tuesdays is the day that we go to Mother's Day out. She doesn't want you to abandon her, because I heard what she said. She doesn't want you to abandon her. So she'll say, she has in her head, we're going to Mother's Day out, I'm brushing, that's why, it's not about brushing teeth, it's about I don't want to go to Mother's Day out, or whatever it is. So when you dig down, you can find those patterns and be a little bit more proactive. And we're gonna learn about nonverbal and verbal de-escalation techniques. This one, y'all, I'm not always real good at, not with my own kids. My kid's dad used to make fun of me. He'd be like, man, you go to school and you're like, you de-escalate and you do all of these things and you're great. He goes, and you come home? What happens when you come home? I'm like, those are my own kids. It's different when they're your own kids, y'all. But we've got to be calm. If we're not calm, and I'm just as guilty, we've all gotten into those matches, but that's not gonna get us anywhere, guys. If you're not calm and you're not regulated, you need to tag out and come back to it. How do we restore the relationship after an incident? I know as a parent, I love my children. I want them to love me. And if I feel like they don't love me, I don't feel right. But that can't run everything I do, because they do love you. They just don't always act like it sometimes. And again, for some that get really serious, we've got to maintain safety for some of our kids. Just basic safety. What does that look like? How many of y'all have kids with some little extra behavior? Anybody? Everybody raise your hand, 'cause we all do, y'all. They're kids. They're kids. They're kids. Some are a little bit more than others. But some of our kids, y'all, are a little bit extra and are a little bit more difficult than, not that there's an average child, but some of them are a little bit extra, you know? And like I said, behavior is communication. When they are melting down, when they are arguing with you, when they are fighting and going on, what's really going on? You know, it's like that toddler who just has a fit and fails on the ground. What are they really upset over? They can't communicate. Younger kids don't have the skills to articulate and communicate yet, so that's why we see more behaviors from younger kids.
Or a 16-year-old exhibiting toddler-like behaviors because they still have the lack of communication to be able, it's still a form of communication, even if it's in an older child, if they still don't have a verbal communication to, you know, it be able to advocate or explain what's going on, right?
And I need to know my audience. So are some of y'all dealing with some nonverbal kiddos at home? Okay. Then here's what you need to know. Since they are nonverbal, it's on the same level as a toddler. Think how frustrating it would be if you wanted to say all these things and they're right here, but you can't get them out. What's going to happen after a while? You're going to get really frustrated. You're going to have a meltdown. So it's the same thing. That's why, you know, I say younger kids, but there's middle school kids, there's high school kids, especially our nonverbal kids. They're at the same verbal, or not, you know, they can't communicate that verbally. So thank you.
Yeah, I know we've got like early childhood and then some high school in here. So we've got the whole gamut. I'm looking at a lot of you I've recognized, and there I see some new faces too. So so we've got
kids
a wide
in life skills classes.
We've got some self-contained students,
Those
and yeah, most are in some type of program that are in this room. I don't want to talk about individual, but just so you know your audience, most of our students, our parents that have students in this room are in a program type setting. So we're seeing more behavior. That's why you're here, right?
Right.
And then we're going to have a lot that are going to have some communication barriers.
Okay. And this is like my 12th year at Regenton. I didn't even tell y'all that, but before that, I was at a middle school for 15 years as a behavior specialist. So the majority of what I did was in self-contained
She
classrooms.
joked that she doesn't know what she's doing, but she has extreme expertise. She's overqualified.
Oh God, not with parents, Rachel. Like, y'all,
Every kid is
I'm
different.
Telling you, I know, but it's hard. It's hard. And here's the deal, y'all. Like I said, I can't come wave pixie dust and have everybody be okay. If I could, I'd be like not here. I'd be in the Bahamas or something. I wouldn't be here. But have you found what works one day doesn't work the next day?
Right.
I know, like in my special ed classrooms, we would have incentives for kids, and man, we'd be trucking along, and they would earn rewards for certain prizes or certain incentives that were great. And then the next day, you know, Cheetos are great today. Cheetos are stupid, miss. I don't want any.
Or their favorite show or their favorite toy changes, and then you as the parent are unaware that all of a sudden Bluey is out and now the newest thing is Paw Patrol, and you had no clue that had changed, and you're like, I'm the parent. How did I not know that that's my child's favorite thing? And so that piece in itself becomes overwhelming, knowing what is the magic formula.
Right. There isn't one. Just newsflash. There isn't one. What works 1 minute doesn't work the next. That's why you've just got to constantly change things up, be on your toes. Communicating with school. Those of y'all that have kiddos in these programs, really good communication every day with the teachers, y'all. If our kiddos know that we are partners with the school, with our teachers, and we're all on the same team, I'm telling you, it makes such a big difference. It makes such a big difference. Have that communication. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone if your child, or send an email. Hey, what's going on? Just to have that communication so that everybody's on the same page. And I know even like with reward and incentive systems, I'm getting off a little bit, I know, but being on the same page that if they do this at school, then I know sometimes y'all will reward them at home. And y'all don't know how that reinforces and helps us so much. Continue doing that.
Right. Or if there's a challenge and then all of a sudden that evening you're taking, Johnny to go get his favorite orange sherbet ice cream at Brahms, then, but he's had a challenging day all day, well, then you just inadvertently reinforced a negative behavior and you had no idea. So, we do want to ensure that collaborative piece, and I know most of you have a communication folder or parent square or something going home. I see you shaking your head no. If that's not happening and you think that needs to be happening, then speak to me after so that we can make sure to collaborate with your classroom teacher, because that is a vital key piece with this behavior that we need to ensure that's happening. So if you see
we
that's...
We don't want to be a burden, an additional burden to the teacher, but yeah, there are a lot of times we've said, if you could tell me, was this a good day or was this a bad day?
Right.
And I don't know if that's overkill, a reasonable thing to ask or not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a reasonable thing to ask. And so we can, work with the classroom teacher and we can chat after. But what is that going to look like for your child, and how detailed does that need to be? It might just be a simple, smiley face that they had a great day and today was good. And for some students that might be like kind of a more full day tracker, right? So we can kind of chat after if that's a concern that you're not having good communication with your classroom teacher. That may just be something that they are unaware that you need more communication about their day.
Yeah, because that could in turn lead to meltdowns at home. And if you don't know what happened during the school day and then you sent them off in the morning and they were great and they come home and they're having all these meltdowns, it's like, what the heck is going on? So it does work hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, we're not, but behind every behavior is something going on. That's all this is saying. That's all that's saying. Okay, so let's talk about this because this gets really fun. So this is what's called the cycle of escalation. Does it necessarily go in this order, y'all? Y'all know better. It can go from here to here real quick. It doesn't always show all the cycles, but let's kind of break this down and talk about it. And let's talk about your kids, because some of your students, I know the students I worked with in the self-contained unit, y'all, their brains are wired differently, flat out. You cannot go in and rewire all the brains of your child that were made the way they were made. And we can do a lot of things, but we cannot rewire their brains. And a lot of the students I worked with in self-contained units and nonverbal students don't have a calm that looks like our calm. Some of them, their calm is always a little bit on edge. And for you nodding your head, is that, yeah. And you know that your child's calm is not really the true calm that we see it. They're a little bit on edge, but that's their calm.
Or maybe a specific sound. Maybe they make a specific sound, and then when that sound changes that it's escalating up.
Yeah. So their calm's gonna look different. And then that trigger, I really don't necessarily like the word trigger, but I don't know what else. It's what sets whatever sets that behavior in motion. So like I was talking about, it could be, oh, well, I don't want to go to preschool today. I know that today's the day. And they're smart, y'all. They're smarter than we give them credit for. They figure it out. So that trigger could be, and a lot of times, y'all, let's be honest, the trigger is I didn't get my way. That's everybody's trigger. That's my trigger too if I don't get my way. So it could be as simple as, I wanted that piece of candy, you didn't give me that piece of candy, I'm having a fit. It doesn't always have to be real complicated or real complex, but whatever sets that behavior in motion. Now here's where we get to the agitation. That looks different in different kids with different personalities and different abilities. And for some of our nonverbal kids, it could be that they start moving in a different way. It could be they start humming. It could be, I know with some of the kids on the spectrum I worked with, you'd see a lot of flapping, moving around, I just knew. I can't tell you, I just spent enough time with them, and you're their, you just know. Whatever that is, they're a little bit agitated. Now here's the key. If we can stop it here, verbally de-escalate them, that is always our goal. Always our goal before it gets physical or too extreme, to verbally de-escalate him. I was joking earlier, but there's a thing on TikTok now where it's going around and these toddlers are having these absolute meltdowns, and they'll be like, Jessica, stop it. They're just using the word because it's not their child's name. And here's the deal, that sounds silly. Try it. And I'm not saying you have to say Jessica, y'all try it. Because here's what it is, it's the power of distraction.
Right.
It's the power of distraction. You're telling them or saying something that they don't expect, and they're like, what? And then they forget what they were upset about sometimes. I would do it all the time with kids when they would come in the classroom. They'd come stomping in, and I'd be like, hey, what are you eating for lunch today? See, even your eyes are like, yes, you are crazy. Yeah, I have to be that much crazier than you to survive, so yes, I am. I am. But it's like whatever, just say something out of the blue. You don't have to say, it's not even so much the Jessica as it is something that they just would not expect. Y'all, I'm serious, y'all try this. It does work. And anything I say isn't gonna work all the time, y'all know that. That's why you have to have a couple of tricks to pull out of your bag. But that power of distraction, just simply ask it, hey, you know, what's wrong? What's wrong? What do you need right now? What's going on? I think when they feel like and they know that we're on their side, sometimes they feel like we're against them. When they know we're on their team and we're on their side, y'all, it makes a big difference. So just that power of distraction. What's going on? What'd you do to, you know, when they, what'd you do today at school? Just anything like that to kind of get them out of that. Now, if you can't get them, you're not always going to be able to. I know this is a big surprise for y'all, but it's not always going to stop here. Then what happens when we get to that acceleration? What are some things some of your kids do when they're like amping it up? What are behaviors y'all see from your own children? Physical, yeah. Verbal,
Yelling
Loud.
very loud.
yeah. And your child who's physical, are they bigger than you already?
Almost.
Yeah, yeah, because you're not real big.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important, y'all, because that physical with some of our nonverbal kids and some of our more severe kids, it can be scary. And it's not only scary for us as parents, it's scary for them too. A lot of times they don't realize or understand everything going on. But when they get that accelerated, that's when we see the throwing, maybe the language, if they use, you know, language or things like that, they start amping up. What are things y'all do when they start amping up?
Sympathize with your feelings. Sorry.
Sympathize?
Yeah, try to talk more softly.
Yes. Yes.
Keep the calm, right?
Yeah.
Try.
Keep the calm.
Try. Yeah.
The natural reaction is to amp up with them.
Right,
It is,
absolutely.
and thank you for being honest, because it is.
I'm gonna
I mean,
one up you, like I'm gonna win this battle, so I'm gonna keep getting louder,
yeah,
right?
I'm your parent, blah, blah,
Exactly.
but let's be honest, does that work very often.
No.
So when we can be the calm,
My kid look at in my eye and see if my eye rolled up, and then he's like, no. So I have to be very calm, and he look at my eye and he sees like mom is calm, and then he can come down.
it calms them down. I mean, because they really do follow our lead in so many ways, guys. They really do. If we can talk them down and verbally de-escalate them, that's always the goal. Because when it gets physical, it gets scary. It gets scary. Let's be honest.
But my kid, like, in response, even if I don't get physical, he is trying to hit me and push me now. And he's kind of going from elementary to middle, so like this is a new behavior for me. When he was younger, just kind of entertaining him, trying to calm him down used to work, but now it's like the ego is there. Like, how dare you not listen to me? How dare you?
And he's fixing to hit adolescence. Hang on. Hang on. Because it's fixing to get really crazy.
So what I've had to do with my, Kara was his teacher at one point, and so she noticed that he would sometimes lose it, but he's a lot bigger than me, he's like almost 6 feet tall, and he's built like a linebacker, gentle boy, but when he loses it, he gets like that, and she does it with her daughter. We have found that when we say, yeah, no, I don't like you right now, we're not friends right now, that typically hurts their feelings, and they like stop, because I'm just like, yeah, no, you and I are not on the same page. We are not friends right now. You come back to me when you want to be a friend. She does it with her daughter, and her daughter's like, you don't want to be my friend? It's like, no, not right now, we don't. And that typically takes it from up here to manageable, where you're not ready to,
It's just finding this, and that may work one day, that may
Right.
not work for you.
Doesn't always work.
That feels so bad. Like, I've tried.
Oh, you feel
telling him,
terrible.
like,
Oh.
I don't want to
The
speak.
guilt
I don't
is
like
horrible.
You. And
Yeah.
then after some time, like, then it's like he kind of stops hitting, but he internalizes every emotion, and then I start feeling guilty of talking to him that way.
Yeah.
Well, and consider maybe, like in schools, when kids get really escalated, we have created calming corners for them
Right.
to go to. Y'all, I have seen parents do this at home as well, and it works out great, because again, that's supporting what we're doing at school, and everything looks the same at school as it does at home. Consider creating some of those calming corners, and afterwards, I can help you with resources and stuff for that. But if they have, okay, when I get really upset, I know that I can go to this calming corner. I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. And then again, that's consistent with what they're doing at school. It makes things so much better. So that is
Miss
something.
Restivo popped in,
Yes.
so
Yes.
welcome.
So if we feel bad, say, no, I'm not cool right now, that's not right. Say, I'm not your friend right now, but when you sit or you speak to me calmly, then I'll be your friend.
Right.
Right? So that feels better in our heart, right? And it tells them what they need to do to make it right. Right? So kind of, instead of maybe.
It gives them a boundary and a limit.
Maybe,
And a
maybe
choice.
for your
Give
kiddo,
them a
just
choice.
saying
Yeah.
no, not cool works, but maybe someone else, or maybe as parents, we need to also say what will make it better.
Sometimes mommy needs a timeout too,
Oh my
because
gosh.
you are
That's called getting in my
escalating,
car.
right?
Blasting music real loud.
And so sometimes you have to say, you're gonna go to your calm spot and I'm gonna go to my
Yes.
calm spot. And we're still, depending on your child, maybe you can see them, maybe they're going to their room, wherever that, place may be. And maybe you do just both need, because if you get to this escalation point as the parent too, that's really hard, right? I see you making the face. That's really hard too, because sometimes the parent, and if you're home alone with your child and you don't have another adult to tag out to, then sometimes it's best to just take a break from that and your child go to their calm spot and you go to your calm spot, so that everybody can kind of de-escalate. And we're going to kind of talk
Yeah.
more about that.
But be the model, y'all. Be the model for your children on how to handle when you get frustrated, when you get upset, when you're disappointed. They're looking at you. Be that model. Show them that way.
Question. Give me an example of a child that's gone through trigger and agitation, and you want to suggest they move to a calm spot. How How does that happen?
When they're agitated, I wouldn't have them necessarily move.
You might be the one moving, and you might need to have
wanna
the
say something,
calm
Angela?
spot already in your home, so they may be staying in that place.
Yeah.
But then if you feel that they are maybe going to be breaking items and things like that, then that's something you have to discern in the situation. Like, do they need to be moved, or can they stay in that spot and maybe you're stepping away to a different spot? You know, maybe you're just verbally saying, I need a break and
Yeah.
you need a break. I will come back to you when you're calm.
Yeah.
But some students may have the ability to, you might be able to say, you need to go to your calm spot, and how is that going to happen? You would routinely practice that when you're
When they're calm.
in a calm spot. Hey, when you are gonna get frustrated and you're feeling these emotions, this is where you can go. So you practice that. And I think we're gonna get
Yeah.
more into that piece, so I don't wanna talk too much into that, but
No, it could also be like, maybe your child or your granddaughter is, hey, why don't you go sit on the patio out back and get some fresh air for a
Yeah.
little bit? Like, I can see you getting, like, ooh, we're getting heated up. Why don't you go upstairs to the game room and just chill for a bit? Like, kind of suggesting to them a place where they can kind of remove, regulate, de-escalate, and you can also at the same time. But you don't have to physically.
right.
I wouldn't get into that with
That's too
them.
much, right? That can be scary. But kind of suggesting some strategies or a place to calm down. Yeah, good question.
Okay, then they de-escalate. You know what that looks like. They just come off it. Here's the deal in that recovery. Be sure once everything's said and done that you go back to your kiddo and you have a conversation and you let them know that you love them and that their behavior does not define them as a person. Just because they make some poor choices doesn't mean they're a bad person. Because our kids need to hear that. Okay, I've already done that. Okay, so this is what I talked about a little bit, just that antecedent behavior consequence. So what happened before the behavior was set in motion? What was the behavior? And then what was the consequence? Let's talk about consequences. Our kids have to have consequences, y'all. If we're not letting them endure natural consequences, we're doing them a huge disservice. You can't be everywhere and do everything for your kiddo. I didn't do work for my kids. If my kids didn't do an assignment, guess what? The consequence was they took whatever it was. I did not do things for them. They had to take that. But here's the thing about consequence. It has to be meaningful for them. What is something that means something to them? And only you know what that is. You know, it looks different at home than it does at school. There's different things you can do at home that may look different than what consequences look like at school. But it has to be meaningful for them, because here's the end game. Our goal is to teach them skills, and that when you do this, this is the result. If we're not allowing them to experience those natural consequences, it's not going to stick. We can't always be rescuing them and saving them out of situations. You've got to let them flail around a little bit. That's just how it works. That's how they grow. That's how they learn. But whatever that consequence is, stick to it. Be consistent. Make sure they have some sort of consequence. It could be, okay, you know what? You threw your iPad. You don't get the iPad for the rest of the night. We're going to have to do something different. Are they going to raise a fuss about it? Absolutely. But that's a battle to me that's worth fighting. That's worth seeing through to the end.
Also ensure with that consequence piece, and I see this often, is ensure that you are able as a parent to keep the consequence that you just said.
Yeah.
Because when we get heated in the moment, we are likely to say, I'm taking your iPad away for a month. I'm removing every toy from your room and you're not getting to have that.
You're
And-
punishing yourself by doing that,
Well,
guys.
and can you do that? Is that really realistic for you as a parent? If you're using iPad, and I'm speaking a little bit from myself here, I have 23 and 19 and 4 and 1, y'all. So I have learned some things and made a lot of, I don't want to say mistakes, but learned and grew from my olders of, if I said, oh, I'm going to take away this, and then I didn't do it, I lost all credibility, right? So if you are going to say you cannot have your iPad for the rest of the evening, then that iPad went away. Last night I said, if you do this again, and there had been numerous behaviors prior, we are not going to dance class tonight, because your behavior is not indicative of someone that is ready to be and participate with your friends. And guess what? That happened again. And there was meltdown. But even though I'm thinking, well, gosh darn, the recital's coming up and I've paid for this class, and and then what are my other parent friends gonna think because my child, no, you just made a good parenting decision there. And when you've got littles and you show them, I am holding up to my end of the bargain, I just gave you a consequence and I'm gonna follow through, and our night is gonna be really difficult, but it's got long-term goals and long-term progress and long-term success. So my big takeaway there was, make sure that it's meaningful,
Yes.
but also make sure that you as a parent are able to follow through with whatever consequence. If you're in that grocery store and you say you're leaving that cart,
Leave it.
if you do want X, Y, and Z, we are leaving the store, then don't say, oh, let me give you just one more chance. Oh, let me just, because that's what you want to do, right? I don't want to leave this grocery cart. I got frozen food in here. And so then you start second guessing, how can I just give you one more chance? No, if you said it, then you mean it and you follow through with it.
And the next time you say it, if you do that, they'll believe you.
Yes,
They'll
absolutely.
believe you. And that develops trust with y'all's relationship as well.
You kind of already went through a
I
little
did.
bit
That's why I said,
of this, but
and here's the deal. I know things look different at home than at school. School is just naturally going to be a little bit more structured and everything. But developing those routines at home are also huge, because those routines communicate to your kiddo that you're safe, you're structured, I care about you. You have to have those routines and those expectations for your kids.
yeah, and if
And
you
follow
need some
through.
help with like morning routine visuals or things like that, you can reach out to your classroom teacher. You can reach out to me if you're saying we aren't as structured as I would like for us to be and we need help with that. Then certainly you can reach out to me and we can collaborate, and then we can also talk to your classroom teacher as well.
But developing those routines is a big deal.
Did I skip forward too quick for you?
Nope. And I kind of already talked about this. Pause. If you see them getting kind of amped up, pause. Steer that to maybe something a little bit different, and then come back to it. It's okay to reduce those requests you have of your kiddo. I already said this too. You can't have both of y'all going crazy at the same time, for lack of better word. It's just not gonna work. So if you need to tap out, if you need to take a break, just like we said, and model that to them. It's okay. That's another opportunity. Hey, you know what? I love you, but I'm really upset with you right now, and I need to walk away for right now, and we can finish talking about this later.
I bet in your past job, you've heard the term rage baiting.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of new to us in the last few years, but it's something that our grandkids love to get other people agitated. And they'll do it with parents, just like they do it with their friends.
But they can't do it if you don't allow them to. And you know what will really send them up the rage? I need to take a minute. I'm not feeling good, and I need to walk away from a minute. I love you, but we'll come back. I'll come back in a little bit, and we'll work it out.
Especially when the rage page is.
And you know what they did? Y'all seen the thing with the little girl throwing the tantrum, who goes from room to room to room and follows her mom from room to room to room and throws herself on the floor? Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
I think I've seen that.
Like, she gets upset and she looks, and she sees the mom and she throws herself on the floor and mom's just ignoring her. Mom gets up and goes to the other room. That little girl picks up and follows her to the room and throws herself on the floor again. Y'all, don't let them do that. Don't let them just walk away. Walk away.
And some of you, many of you, I would assume, have had a FBA, functional behavior analysis, done on your student by one of our behavior specialists, and Ms. Restiva would be more to talk in more detail about this. But when we talk about strategies, ignorance might be one of those strategies, and the FBA is going to tell kind of the function of the behavior, and then they've also developed that behavior intervention plan. And if we want to set up some meetings or do some things afterwards to kind of really look at those pieces and what are they doing in school, what was recommended, that's discussed in your ARD meetings. But sometimes there's so many things discussed within an ARD meeting, you might be like, wait a minute, I didn't catch that. So if you want us to kind of look into those pieces more, we can. And I don't want to get too much into that,
Right.
because they're very individualized, right? But we can talk about that piece after.
But like if the function is attention and they're doing it for attention.
Absolutely.
And you're giving them attention, you're reinforcing that behavior inadvertently. You're not meaning to, but that's why it's important to know what is the driving force behind that behavior.
Absolutely.
What's the function? Okay, next I've already. Okay, here's the other thing, y'all. We need to be aware of our body language, our facial expressions. Don't ever, and of course we don't do this at school. It does look a little bit different at home because you're the parent. You are gonna get closer to your child than a teacher would. But when they are upset, arm's length. Don't get in their face. Don't get in their space. If they are smaller, even getting down on their level, their eye level, to speak to them is very effective, but don't get in their space. Do not do that. All that's gonna do, think about it, if you're upset and I come to you and I'm like, what's that gonna do to you? You're gonna be like, whoa, back up, back out of my space. Kids are the same way. Keep your hands open and visible, even as a parent, because think about it. If I come up to you and I'm like, you're like, what the heck is behind her back? Nothing, my arms are, but even your children, be aware, be visible. Let them see everything. Have your hands visible, have your facial expression is neutral, because y'all know, we all talk about that mom look where you come in and you're like, now's not the time for the mom look. Now's not the time for the mom look. But sometimes it is, but when they're agitated or they're upset, don't do that. Have very neutral body language. Don't have your arms crossed. Don't have your feet. Just be very open and available. That's what we call supportive stance, basically. Have you ever tried when your kid's yelling to just say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now because you're yelling so loud. They'll be like, what'd she say? Just like really bring it down into almost a whisper voice where they have to stop what they're doing to hear you. Again, these aren't always gonna work, but sometimes every once in a while, y'all, they will. Again, you don't want to tell them too much at one time. When their brain is going like this, they can't take in 3 different instructions at a time. Tell them one thing at a time. Tell them in a quiet, calm voice. Don't give them 3 or 4 instructions or directions. One thing at a time. Let them know that you understand how they feel. That's huge. Validate their feelings, because even those little bitties, when they're having fits, we're like, why are you having a fit over a toy? Y'all, their perception is their reality. And for a 5-year-old or a little toddler, her biggest worry is that she didn't bring her get to bring her favorite toy to school today, that's just as important as us being worried about having to pay bills. It's equal. So just be aware of that. What they're not fully developed yet. They don't have that reasoning, that processing, those skills. And so if you ask them, why did you do that? What are they gonna say? Y'all, they don't know.
Right.
They really don't know. That cognitive, logical, reasoning pieces of the brain, you're probably still developing because you're a man. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing, I'm joking with you. Because in men, they don't develop like until mid-20s. Yes, you still have a ways to go. So they're not able to do that. So be aware of those limitations as well. Instead of asking them why, what happened? What happened? What were you thinking about at the time? What have you thought about since? Who do you think this affected? And how can we make it right? I'll help you, but those are where they start processing and learning from those behaviors so they don't do it again. De-escalation phrases for kids. If they're not in trouble, now if they're in trouble, you can't tell them they're not in trouble, okay? But if they're not in trouble, hey, you're not in trouble. I'm not mad at you. I just want to help you work through this. Sometimes just knowing they're not in trouble, it's like, okay, got it. I'm not in trouble. I got this. That'll calm them down. And same things that I said. What happened? What were you thinking about at the time? What have you thought about since? Who do you think this affected? They need to know that. And how are we going to make it right? Give them a little bit of time. And I know it's going to seem like hours. But when you make a request, like I said, that frontal lobe is not completely developed yet. Give them a minute to process what you asked and respond. I would even wait, in your head, count to 10 after you tell them to do something. And again, one thing at a time. Just clear and simple. Keep your words short and concise. Don't give them a bunch. Just as short and concise as you can. Okay. If they are in this crisis phase, that big phase where it's like the big behaviors are going on, get everyone else. If they have siblings, if there's other people, remove everybody out of there. Because a lot of times what I've found, especially, it happens in classrooms, but it happens at home too. They thrive on an audience. If you have a lot of people involved, and you know what, because I threw a fit, I got everybody in my family in this room right away. We're giving them a lot of power. Remove that. Remove everybody else, remove all the siblings. It just needs to be you and your child, and that's it. Maybe, their other parent or whoever else, but there shouldn't be a big audience in there. If there's stuff they could throw, because I know this is a reality for some of you guys. If there's things they could throw, if there's objects that could do harm, if you see them amping up, just quietly remove all that stuff where it's out of their reach. That's a safety issue for you. It's a safety thing for them. Just remove all of those things. And this is exactly, there it is. You're losing your iPad for a week. Telling them something that you're probably not going to be able to follow through with. If they're in the middle of a big behavior and you're throwing a lot of consequences at them that you may or may not even follow through with, what do you think that's going to do? It's just like pouring gasoline on a fire. It's just going to woof. That's not the time for you to be talking about that either. Okay. Here's what I found when kids cool down. A lot of times they take the time and they cool down and they realize what they've done. And they're one of two things or both things. Embarrassed and sorry. And they will ask to pick up the mess. They will tell you, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I did that. I love you. And they mean that. they don't know a lot of times. The main thing is be their parent. That's when you love them and you say, your behavior, I don't like what you did, but I love you. And do a good job of separating the behavior from your child, because that behavior does not define them. Okay. Next. Yeah, here's the thing we need to be doing as parents, guys. I was so great at telling my kids what they couldn't do. Don't do that, don't run, don't do this, don't bring that and that. What do we do instead? And especially with our nonverbal kids and some of our kids on the spectrum who maybe have some difficulty differentiating just basic things going on, basic communication skills. What can they do instead that is socially acceptable that you're okay with? I think about one of my kids on the spectrum that I worked with, and every time he would get upset, and I'm sure he probably did this at home, he would say, I'm gonna kill you. Y'all, he was no more gonna kill me. This child is not a child. He's like almost 30 now, and I'm still in contact with him and his mom. They're just those parents that are great. But he was no more gonna kill me or anybody else than the man in the moon. But here's the issue with that. When he goes out in public and gets upset, because this happens, y'all have all had your kids out in public when they've gotten upset, every one of y'all, I'm sure. And when they go out in public and get upset and say, I'm gonna kill you, especially in this day and age, y'all, that gets a lot of attention.
The
Real quick.
police are getting called.
They do not care that your child has an IEP, BIP, FBA, XYZ, that they're AU, that they're ID. Y'all, they don't care. The handcuffs still fit them, and they'll be happy to cuff them up and haul them off. So we really, this starts at home. Teach them what is acceptable to do and say when they're upset, when they're agitated, so they don't get in trouble. So instead of telling them what not to do, you know what, when you get upset, instead of saying, I am gonna kill you, what do you think you could do instead? Maybe there's a hand signal you could give me to know that you need a timeout. Maybe there's something we could say, a code word or something that you have with your child, just to be like, I've had my limit, I need a minute. So that when my daughter was little, we had a little thing when she wanted to talk to me, and you know how you're talking to somebody and they're like yanking on you. She would yank on me. Can I use you for a minute?
Sure.
So she would grab my wrist. And I'd just be like this. That let her know that I acknowledged her. I knew she was there, but let me finish this thought and I'll be right with you. So that's just a good example of just like a signal or something you could do to let them know, hey, I'm with you, I know that, just give me a minute. But talk to them about things they could do that are socially appropriate so they don't get in trouble. Because I don't want our kids in trouble.
And then that's really too a collaboration piece with your teacher, because I would assume most of the time that if your child is exhibiting or saying those type things, then they are most likely doing that at school. And we do want to ensure that whatever strategies we're using, whether the student is saying, I want to kill you or I want to kill myself, then what in the classroom are they teaching them that they can say? Because it is a form of communication, right? They may, or most likely, are not meaning that. They're really meaning, I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm frustrated. And so how can we change their verbiage, right? So we want to ensure that we're all on the same page. You know, what are they doing at school so that you can also mirror that, or what are you doing at home so we can mirror that?
Well, and a lot of that is just them identifying and labeling their feelings.
Yeah, their
appropriately.
emotions, yeah.
I mean, I don't care who you are, we all need that. So teaching them, yeah, instead of I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, so that they can more accurately communicate with us what's really going on.
And sometimes your students with that maybe not have that verbal communication, most of the time, I can sometimes hide it, right? But most of the time, if I'm sad, I look sad. If I'm angry, I look angry. Sometimes our students that have verbal communication challenges, they may not physically look the way that they're feeling. Well, that's even harder for us as the adults to realize, because if I can physically see that right now you're not looking at me and that you're angry and mad, I'm going to react a certain way and try to de-escalate that. But if you look happy, but then really you're angry, it's hard for me to, you know what I mean? So you've got even an added challenge in there if they're not able. So really being able to work with them and label how you're feeling
is huge. Well, and I don't know if y'all have seen the posters. You can get these things that have like all these different faces and emotions. Even having that at home for them to be able to, okay, how do you feel? That's how I feel. Just an added, and
Yeah, we have some feeling charts. So when I do the Parent Square follow-up post for you, I'll link some in there for you. And if you need those printed, you can reach out to me if you don't have access to that. But I'll link some in there for you, because that is really helpful if we can start working with our children to label how they're feeling in the moment. And when they're calm, practice, oh, I see you're happy right now. I see you're calm. And so practice that emotion piece when they are calm.
well, and when they're calm, practice for when they do get escalated. Hey, you're calm right now, but we're gonna practice when you're upset. Where's a safe place you can go? What's something you can do that's gonna be safe? But you've gotta do it when they're calm.
So, for teenagers, okay, so my son has kind of outgrown the feeling charts and everything. But to your point, like he's not using languages I'm going to give you, but like for him, it is like this friends. It's either I love you or I hate you.
Right.
And it switches, and I've told him a lot many times, these are very strong words. When you go and say something like I hate you to a person, that hits badly. On the other hand, he doesn't, I don't know whether it's a vocabulary thing, like he will say I love you to a friend because he's having a good time with him, and then other kids would tease him.
Mm-hmm.
He once said that he's in a relationship with a friend because that guy is his best friend.
Right.
But like he's not really understanding that that's not a good term to use, especially like at this age where other kids would be more matured, and then they start teasing him. Like he got teased a lot.
Right. So I think just teaching him other words that are more appropriate to use. I like you, you're my friend. Just working with that other more appropriate words.
Yeah, and you could definitely say, you could kind of have that, we could kind of collaborate and work together, but just if you're, you're kind of on both ends of the spectrum, right? So what can we say to friends? What can we say to mom and dad? We, I had a teacher, a training that I went to a while back, and I was like, man, this is ingenious. And so it was kind of like a Venn diagram. And they said, here in the very center is who we say, I love you to. And that's to mom and dad and family. And then to our teachers and to our friends, these are things they could say. And it had all the things. And it had all different examples, right? And then one step further, these are things that I can say to an acquaintance, like somebody or a stranger, right? And then it also, the flip side, this is what I can say and this is what I can't say. Because we also want to teach like, oh, we're not going to go and tell a stranger I love you. And we're also not going to tell a stranger I hate you. And we're also not going to tell a stranger our whole personal life, right? And so kind of creating that, because kids on the spectrum, they're going to be like, hi, my name is Johnny, and I go to school here, and I'm just like, want to be your best friend forever. And, you know, and they just start, and my address is this. They get so excited. Yes, they get so excited about all the things, and they want to overshare, right? And you're like, hold up, please do not share our whole personal life. And so those, if you're familiar with like a Venn diagram, but really it's just a circle in the center. This is who I can share this with. And and you can kind of cater that. Maybe it's got pictures of mom and dad and you know, any family members, or maybe it just says mom and dad and grandparents, right? Maybe they've got one close friend that might be appropriate for them to say something like that to, right? So maybe Bobby is in that center circle, but all your other friends are out here, right? And so you can kind of know. So that's a way to kind of strategize that, is knowing those things. So make it what I can do and then what I can't do. So, and that kind of strategy can be used for all your kids, and you can cater that, whether it's with visuals because you have a lower verbal kid, or whether that is a very verbal kid and you're using like sentence stems with them. I know we are over time, so you've got some handouts
and I do have, if you'll flip, wait, one
some
more.
resources, right?
You can share those resources with them, because this is just some good, you know, some calming things, some visual behavior supports we were talking about, so feel free to share those out with you guys as well.